Hi, you may have heard the quote of, if you don't have a plan, then you can plan to fail. It's the same with marriage. Just as in life, when you don't have a plan for your life, you just sort of end up somewhere. Things don't tend to work out as well. It's really hard to make decisions. But just like in life, if in marriage you have a plan, then you're more likely to achieve your goals, and it helps you when it comes to making decisions. So today we're going to talk about how to make a plan and how to dream big for your coming marriage. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can overcome it and move on with your life. So everything we're talking about today comes from my book, Do I? I will put the link in the description. You can find it on Amazon. So hopefully up to this point, you've had the difficult conversations. You have found out if you both are compatible based off your values and your goals for life. If this is going to be a union that is going to have a better chance of succeeding. And if not, hopefully you're not still talking about getting married. Hopefully you're either in counseling or you're working through some differences to see if you can find a way to manage those, or if you just need to not get married. So if you've already been through those difficult conversations, you found out that you truly are compatible, that you do have a similar value system, you do have shared goals for life, at least at this point in your lives, then this is the video for you. So today is all about how to make a plan for your marriage. And part of that includes the daily, day-to-day things that you have to do, like different routines. So this is coming from page 80 of Do I? Here is a question. So first of all, you want to dream and dream big. You want to dream about the life you want, where you both plan to end up. Maybe you both hope to own a farm someday, and what are you going to do with that farm? Or maybe you both want to end up in New York City, or maybe you both would love to live in London. Wherever it is you both want to end up and you both want to live, then keep that in mind as you begin to set some of these goals. It doesn't mean you failed if you don't end up there, and it doesn't mean that your plans won't change. But for today, if we're thinking of this vision and this future and this is where we want to go, it helps us to make the day-to-day decisions much more quickly and a lot more easily. So the first question is, when do you plan to get married? So some couples get engaged and then they don't really deal with a wedding date, right? But if you don't have a wedding date, there is less chance of you getting married. So it would be the time, again, if you've done the other work, that, okay, so now today we're going to talk about, when are we going to get married? Do we want to get married in the fall? Maybe one of you is like just so passionate about fall. Maybe somebody really wants a summer wedding because they always want to have their anniversary in the summer. Maybe people love winter and they would love to go on big ski trips for their anniversaries every year. So just thinking with that in mind, what are you both passionate about? What season would you like to get married? And when would you like your anniversary to be? And then start to try to narrow down a date. What year, what month, what day do we plan to do this? And set a date if you're there. We also talked about in prior videos having children, being on the same page. So if you both decided that you do want to have children, based off all these other plans we're making, when would you like that to start? When do you reasonably see that starting? If you're with someone who doesn't want to have these conversations, or someone who thinks this is a nuisance or a pest, or it's irritating to talk about these things within reason, then I would say don't get married and wait until you both can talk about it, because there's probably few things worse than being in a marriage that you are involved in with someone who is not involved, or someone who won't talk about it, because you really can't plan anything. Think of having a business partner. You need to have conversations. You need to handle and tackle tough decisions, and you need to talk about a future and where you're moving, or you're not going to have a business. It's just not going to work. It's very similar in marriage. So if you're already struggling, I would not expect that to change when you get married. It oftentimes gets worse. So if somebody's already not willing to talk about these things, then I would say, what else do you have to talk about, right? So keep that filed away in your mind. It doesn't mean you can't get married. It doesn't mean it won't work, but it probably does mean that you might want to wait, and you also may want to go seek help to be able to try to get on the same page if you're serious about this marriage. The next one is, do we plan to be homeowners? And if so, when do we see ourselves purchasing our first home? So again, dream big. If you want to own a home, or maybe one of you already does own a home, Maybe you both plan to sell that home and get to a different home. When do you kind of see some of these things happening? What would it be contingent on? And how can you work that into a budget to save and make that part of your financial goals? Also, schooling. Do one of you plan to continue education or go back into school? Are you done with school? When do you plan to do that? When are you plan to be done with that? So remember, in marriage and in relationships, the more you can just put on the table, the better it is for everyone. The more you can just put that stuff out there and really pick it apart and go through it, examine it, the closer you're both going to be and the happier the marriage is going to be. It's when we try to spare feelings, or we think stuff is going to work it out, or we think stuff's not important, or we don't want to bother our partner, even sometimes with good intentions, that is rarely the best policy. So it's usually better just to put it on the table where everyone can see it and have a say and talk about it. Okay, so here's another one. Where would you ultimately like to end up? So we kind of talked about, do you want to end up on a farm? How about a cabin in the woods, maybe like New York? Where would you kind of see yourselves ending up? And that would be for both of you. And what does that look like? And hopefully you never take off the table that you're not going to get married. So this is not something that we have to do and we have to come up with this. It's more important that you believe your partner when they say this is what they want, and that you say what it is you actually want. And then realizing, maybe we're just too different and this is not going to work. Or this is great, awesome, we are on the same page, we're having these conversations, we're both, moving in the same direction, wonderful, let's get married. And if not, let's not get married. So other things for the day-to-day stuff, you want to look at how do we plan to handle our day-to-day routines. So this would be where you make a list of what needs to be done, and when do you both, for now, see yourselves doing that. Maybe we're going to go to the grocery store every Sunday and we're both going to come home, put everything away, and we're both going to meal prep. Or maybe one person works nights, one person works days. So the one who works nights is going to do this, the one who works days is going to do this. Really talking about household things and how you kind of see that going. How is that going to play out? So at least it's on the table. At least you're having a conversation, and there is going to be an expectation that you both are aware of. Otherwise, what tends to happen is we have our expectations and our partners has their expectations, and rarely do the two meet. So it's important to just get it out on the table and have those conversations. I would really, urge you to have a weekly or monthly budget meeting. How will you do that? How are you going to do your finances? And again, hopefully go back through the financial video and also the financial chapter that's in the book to help you develop a plan to get on the same plan for your finances. What does that look like? How are we going to run our money, and are we doing it separate? Are we doing it together? Whichever way we choose, what exactly is that going to look like for us both as we continue in this marriage? So looking at other things, any other routines that you need to add in, especially, someone may already have a child. You may already have more than one child. What does the routine with the children look like? What is the expectation going to be surrounding that? And does that sound good to you? Is that a life that you want? And if not, express that before you say I do. It's really hard because your heart wants to fall and we're so excited. So it's kind of hard to keep ourselves in reality having these tough conversations, especially if we kind of already know we're not going to like the answer. But again, much better to prevent a failing marriage than to be trying to get out of one. So again, you can find all of this and more from Do I. It's important to have these conversations before you get married. If you're in a marriage that's struggling, these are also great conversations to try to have. And if your partner will not talk to you about them, or they will not get on board with you, then you could try to go to counseling, hopefully as a couple. If they refuse, then go as an individual. Either way, seek help. You're never stuck. It's never so bad that you can't find a way to cope and ultimately move on if that's what you need to do, or to cope and strengthen and try to strengthen the marriage. So again, you can find the book in the link. I'll also leave some more videos from the series of Do I. I'm wishing you all the best with your upcoming marriage if you're going to get married, and all the best with your current marriage if you're currently married. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.